My name is Sara Miller, and I wanted to share with you some things that God has taught me over the past few years. I was raised in a Christian home, and so I've grown up around Scripture. I have a lot of it up here in my head. What my life has been about is getting the knowledge from up here to down here, and it has taken some pretty major events in order for that to happen. My husband and I, Bryan, moved to Mexico City in 1997 with a mission organization. We had sold our house, our cars, loaded up our children, and moved to Mexico and fell in love with it, immersed ourselves in the culture, planned on staying there the rest of our lives. 2 years later, the mission organization closed the work and said there was no place for us there. They needed us to come back. And so we moved back to Bryan, Texas. Heartbroken, sad, not sure what God's plan was, but knowing that this is where we needed to be. Bryan's mom lived in Florida at the time and suffered end-stage renal failure, so he drove to Florida to get her and move her in with us. So during this time of transition that was already stressful, we added a woman who needed medical care on a regular basis. And during all of this stress and tension, something inside of me snapped, and I poured a pan of boiling potatoes over my head. Fortunately, the physical injuries were not serious at all. It was more a concern about my mental state. So this set in motion a series of events that led to me having a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder and being put on a medication that I have taken now for 20 years and will continue to take. What this looks like in my life is that when something happens that is bad, for example, I have a bad day at school, teaching, my mind immediately takes it to the extreme and I need to resign and stop teaching. I'm not good enough to be in the classroom anymore. Or if I burn dinner, then I need to leave. My family would be better off without me. These are lies, and I began to realize after a difficult time a few years ago, that this is lies from the pit of hell, that Satan is using those lies to tear me down, and he's doing it in the lives of lots of other people, through depression, through anxiety, through hopelessness. He has been telling people since the time of Adam and Eve that God is not who he says he is. That's what he asked Eve to begin with at the very beginning. Is God, did God really say that? And we believe it. We believe that no, God can't do that, or God isn't. And so I've learned to combat that with knowing who God is. That lie has to be combated with the truth. And the truth is God is who he says he is. The truth is God will never leave or forsake us. The truth is like Captain America's shield. I can hold it up and be defended against these lies, and I can also use it as a weapon against Satan to say, go away, leave me alone. And so I spend a lot of time now thinking about who God is, what he has done. I think of the passages that I memorized as a child in Psalm 139. Where shall I go from your presence? Where shall I go from your spirit? If I make my home in heaven, you'll be there. If I go to the depths, you will be there. Remember that God is with me wherever I go. When my mind is starting to go into that dark place, I remember that God is a light in the darkness, that Jesus said, I am the light of the world. That's what people need to hear. If you are struggling with thoughts of anxiety, of depression, I encourage you to remember who God is. He is the great I am. He is everything he said he is and more. And if you know people who are struggling, my encouragement is to speak truth to them, because they need to hear. They need to be reminded that God is greater, God is bigger than whatever their situation is, that he can handle it. And the best defense against problems is looking to God and seeing who he is, and reminding yourself what a great God we have. Thank you.